beginning our review video for Chapter 3, Section 1. So that's Section 3.1. And as always, when we start a video, we always start with the learning goal or the learning target for the day. And today's learning target is to find square roots of perfect squares. Well, we've got a few terms we've got to get out of the way before we do that. Vocabulary here. A perfect square is a rational number whose square root is a whole number. A rational number whose square root is a whole number. And a square root is one of the two equal factors of a number. One of the two equal factors of a number. And the third definition that we have is a radical sign. The radical sign is a symbol used to indicate a non-negative square root. Well, let's jump right into some practice. We're asked to find the square root of 81. As we look at 81, shy of using a calculator, we can start to estimate, well, maybe 81 is 10 times 10, or 10 squared. Of course, 10 squared works out to be 100, so that's too big. We've got to go a little bit smaller. We could try 8 times 8, or 8 squared, but that's equal to 64, so it's too small. Well, right in between is, of course, 9, and we go 9 times 9, or 9 squared, and that does happen to work out to be perfectly 81. So the square root of 81 is 9. You do the same kind of thing with find the square root of 64. Well, let's try 7. 7 times 7 is 7 squared, or 49. That's too low. Let's move up. Let's go ahead and try 8 times 8. 8 times 8, 8 squared, and that does work out to be 64. So the perfect square root of 64 is 8. Now we're asked to find the negative square root of 16 over 81. The negative square root of 16 over 81. Well, I'm going to work on this a little bit, and I'm going to say I think the perfect square root of 16 over the perfect square root of 81, the perfect square root of 16 is 4. The perfect square root of 81 is 9. So I believe my answer would be a negative 4 ninths. Negative 4 ninths. Looking at this one, the square root of 25 over 144, square root of 25 over the square root of 144, that's equal to 5 over 12, and of course it's negative, so it's a negative 5 twelfths. We're asked to find the square root of 1.44. 1.44. Well, as I start to work on this a little bit, it's going to be something greater than 1, because 1 times 1 is equal to 1. 2 times 2 is equal to 4, so it's going to be closer to 1 than it is to 2. It's going to be a decimal number. I'm going to try, I think, if I look at 1.2 times 1.2, let's check that out. 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 1 is 2. 2 decimal points, 1.44. So the square root of 1.44 is 1.2, and it's the plus 1.2 or the minus 1.2. Both of those numbers would work. Just to review a little bit here, 1.2 we just found times 1.2 is 1.44. But if we look at 1.2 negative times a 1.2 negative, negative times negative gives me a positive. The numbers are the same, so it's going to work out to be 1.44. So here I've got plus or minus the square root of 2, and I'm going to change this number. I know this is a typo here. It is plus or minus the square root of 2.25. 2.25. Just a little typo there. Looking at that, it's going to be, well, the square root of 2 times 2 would be 4. That's too big. 1 times 1 is 1. That's too small, so it's going to be between 1 and 2. And if I look at it, I'm going to try the number 1.5. We'll go right in the middle. 1.5 times 1.5, 5 times 25, carry the 2, 5, 7, 5, 1, 2.25 with the 2 decimal points here. So it is 2.25. My answer is going to be plus or minus either the plus sign or the minus sign of 1.5. So it's 1.5 is one answer and negative 1.5 is the other. Both of those are correct. Here we're asked to solve an equation with that. And since we've got something squared, if we want to get rid of the square, we have to do the opposite operation. So we're going to take the square root of x squared. But if I take the square root of one side of the equation, I got to take the square root of the other side of the equation. So the square root of x squared is just x. The square root of 225, work it out with my calculator. It's either 15, it's a plus 15 or a minus 15. In this case, it's a plus 15. All right. Looking down here at the bottom, x squared is equal to 81. I can take the square root of both sides. Square root of both sides. Well, the square root of x squared is just plain x. The square root of 81 is either the plus or the minus 9. Plus or minus 9. Could be either one of those. In this case, it happens to be the plus 9. Here's an artwork problem about artwork. The artwork on a square picture in a compact disc case is approximately 14,161 millimeters squared. All right, that's the area. And they're asking me to find the length of each of the sides. Well, if I remember my equation for area, we studied this earlier. Area of a square is equal to the length times the length. Another way to say that is length squared. So in this case, I could say 14,161 is equal to the length squared. So I'm going to take the square root of both sides. Square root of L squared is equal to L. The square root of 14,161, to tell you the truth, I'm going to work that out on my calculator, and it comes out to be 119 millimeters. 119 millimeters is the length of one of the sides on the square. A piece of art is a square picture that is approximately 11,025 square inches. Find the length of each side of the square. It's kind of the same problem. Area is equal to length squared, or in this case, 11,025 is equal to the length squared. I'm going to take the square root of both sides. The square root of L squared is just L. On my calculator, if I type in 11,025 and I hit the square root key, I think I get 105. So that would be inches on each side of my square. Thank you.